Edwin, Alex, thank you for being here. This awesome crowd. It's amazing to see 17-year-old doing things. I know you were probably dreaming of cleaning, passion at 17 years old, Edwin. How did you get into the cleaning business?
Yeah, I raised my hand in the 4th grade when they asked on career day, and I said, yeah, I wanted to be a janitor. No. Listen, the cleaning industry is not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it's something that's necessary. It's needed in everyday life, right? Especially when COVID hit. Everything needed to be clean. And that's where iPro came into play, right? But I was in college, UW, go Dogs, I know there's some dogs in here. And my college roommate and I were sitting on the couch one night. He gets a phone call from his uncle, who just happened to own a big regional janitorial company up and down the I-5 and 405 corridor. And he said, we had a couple cleaners quit in your area where you guys are living. Would you guys want to fill in and clean for me till I can find some new cleaners? There's no way that's happening. That's not going to happen. I was going to school for hospitality management. But he said, you know what? I'll pay you guys in beer money. And I'm a college student, so that was perfect. I said, you know what? I'll do it. I'll clean the banks, you can pay me with beer money, let's do it. And so that's how it started. Fast forward to where we are now. I broke away from that company, started iPro in 2013. We're now in 10 states. 10 states, a few hundred employees. Inc. 5000 3 years in a row, one of the fastest growing privately held businesses in America. And we're just growing rapidly. And believe it or not, I look young. This is my 25-year-old son, Alex.
Four.
So as you're growing, how does that vision, how do you go from cleaning, I'm taking this on, not really my jam, but now it's my jam. How does it go from that to like the vision? You not only have iPro, you have Cinch, right? The software.
Yes.
How does that progress? How did that process evolve? And what could you tell these guys to like be on the lookout for as you're building your vision?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not easy being an entrepreneur. For everybody that is an entrepreneur here, you probably already know that, right? There's a lot of sleepless nights, and there were times where I was working all day, selling all day, trying to build a business, and then cleaning at night because I didn't have any employees at the time, and so grew it from there, and it just evolved to him watching me as he was growing up, making him fold the rags so I didn't have to do it. He was getting ready to start the night, but it evolved to. I just happened to, after like 7 years in the business, I had an opportunity on a podcast. And the podcast gave me street cred. People heard my story. And then people started reaching out to me and said, hey, Edwin, love what you were talking about. Can you help my business? And so, you know what, I'll do it. So I was helping them out. And then my wife said, you can't take your time away from iPro. You gotta charge, at least charge it. You gotta make something out of this, right? And so that evolved into consulting. And so now I have a consulting business called Blueprint Janitorial Consulting, and so I help commercial cleaning businesses actually all over the world. So Australia, the UK, China, everywhere. And so then that evolved into software because they were asking me about software. So even though it started with a mop and a vacuum, it's just evolved into several different businesses. And now I'm not in the everyday of cleaning. My job now, as I pass it on to him, on the staff, but now my job is to develop the leadership team. Make sure that him and my other leaders are where they need to be to continue growing the company.
Yeah, and on to you, Alex. So you've kind of had this front row seat to your dad's entrepreneurship journey. How did that shape your childhood, growing up entrepreneurship, leadership, and sacrifice?
Yeah, I learned a lot. Just being a kid, watching the phone calls, watching him being out, and my mom cleaning at night, folding rags, unfortunately, as he said. I take everything that I learned from him just watching and use it day to day. The leadership skills when we have manager meetings. I base everything off of what I've learned from him and other managers and watching them work, and their work ethic is just, I keep it all to myself and just use it.
Yeah, talking about the work ethic, were there times as a kid where you're like, man, is this business worth it? Like, did you ever feel, that the business was more important than you, or did you see something in a different light than maybe your dad would have seen things? And how did that shape how you see it now?
Yeah, like when I was a kid, they were out cleaning at night and grandma was watching me at the house and I didn't understand it. I was very young. And fast forward to now, it makes sense and I get it, understanding the business side of it and whatnot. Totally understand it now, but yeah, them not being there, it's a little weird. Your parents are gone at night, where are they gone at night, where are they cleaning? And then yeah, it's helped me understand the business a lot, get a really good understanding of it.
And from that, so when did you realize that, oh, I want to be a part of this and I want to help my dad grow this business? Like, was there like an aha moment for you?
Well, yeah, I think I had a choice because I was going to college actually for automotive tech. I wanted to be a mechanic while working for him at night, and I graduated from WBC, and he offered me more money, and it worked out. Super happy. I decided to stay on board, and then now, from when I started, I was a nighttime supervisor working at night, cleaning, unfortunately, to now I get to talk to clients. I'm selling. I run the operations. I oversee the entire team, and I absolutely love it.
Right. I think you said something that caught me because my parents maybe did that too. But learning from the bottom, learning everything is going to help you as you grow and take over the business from your father.
Sorry to cut him off really quick, but yeah. So he was working while going to school. So there were days where we told him he'd be off at 11 o'clock at night, and he'd be working until 2 in the morning because employees would call out and he had to cover. So he's learned the business, but I have to gloat about him a little bit because he came to me one day and he said, "Dad, I don't want to clean anymore, I want to sell." What do you know about selling? He didn't know anything. And so I gave him a few tips and I pointed him in the right direction. I said, just go ahead and do this, let's see if you're made for sales. So he went out, and his first month, he did over $37,000 in sales. Mm-hmm. And in the janitorial industry, for a local community like this, that's gangbusters right there. So first month, $37,000 in sales. So I was pretty proud that he did that.
That's awesome, Alex. Let me ask you this: how did your first sales presentation go?
Kind of like this. I was very nervous, shaking. Didn't really know what to say because he kind of just said, "Go sell," right, and just threw me into the fire. And
I gave him
yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. I had no idea what to say. Just kind of talk from experience because I did start out cleaning, which helped me a lot to understand what they're looking for, what they want, what they don't want to see. So I know I was very, very nervous, but I had a good idea of what they wanted to know or what they wanted to hear.
Right. It sounds like you had the passion that people keep alluding to be successful there. Do you know how many presentations it took before you got a yes?
Well, I was in the first month. I think it was, I don't know, I probably saw 30 people that first month, and it was in like the top 20.
Nice.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how are you thinking about your own future within something your dad's built? Like, what's your vision for iPro, or taking it to the next step as you grow to start leading the business in the future?
Yeah, just to carry on iPro, to carry on the legacy. Like, I'm very thankful for the job I have and the opportunities I've had while I've been working here, and what he's built and created, and it helps, and I love it. I love what I do, and to just carry on the business and the jobs that we get to give to people and the amount of employees that we have and I get to see every day, it just drives me to want to continue on.
I know your dad always has some great quotes sometimes from rappers and things like philosophers. Is there one that's like that you heard when you were little that's kind of stuck with you, like a mindset builder for you that he's had that he may not know of?
I really like the Pitbull one.
He loves it. He doesn't know.
Yeah. So the great philosopher Pitbull, right, he said, "Ask for money, get advice. Ask for advice, get money twice." And so honestly, if you guys look around the room, I mean, everybody's been talking about it. Network. There's a lot of great entrepreneurs in this room that you could learn from. So it's not about chasing the money. It's about right now. It's about chasing the knowledge and learning right now, and then the money will follow.
To follow up with that, Edwin. So if somebody came up to you today and asked you a question, how receptive are you to questions? Like, what's that process like now that you're successful? What advice, building on that, do you have for these young people coming up? Like, I know sometimes it probably feels like they're bothering them, or maybe it's not the right time to ask, but what would be your advice, being that you're in the position you're in and you started from where they are?
Yeah, with me, it was just, I just went out and asked the people. Don't be afraid to do it, right? You're in a room right now with people that are willing to help you out. So just don't be afraid, just go for it. I'll quote another great philosopher, Tupac.
Yes.
Tupac said, "Don't talk about it, be about it." So you have an idea, just go do it. If that person is there, what are you afraid of, right? They're the person that maybe has the answer to your question.
All right, we'll go to you, Alex, and then we'll come back to you, Edwin. But kind of for both of you, what has this experience been like working together as a father-son? How's this kind of shaped your trust and leadership in work, but how also has it kind of changed your family dynamics?
Well, have any of you worked with family at all? Right? Yes. No, it's fun. I mean, we have our moments, right? We don't always see eye to eye on everything, but he knows what he's doing, and I trust him. I trust what he says, and I follow what he says, and I think it's made our relationship grow and way better. Yeah, love it.
Nice. Who buys the beers for the barbecue? Yeah, that's the right answer.
Well, and you know that I have a podcast too, the Built After Hours podcast. You guys should subscribe to it.
It's on YouTube.
Season 3 premieres next Thursday. But he was actually my first guest on the podcast, and I asked, I play a game on the rapid fire roulette. I just asked 5 questions. He gets 3 seconds to answer. And one of the questions was, what is it like working for your dad? Do you remember what he said? It was one word.
Hard.
Challenge. And I think it is for both of us, but in a good way. And it's kind of the same thing that, I'm trying to give him as much advice as I can so that he's successful when he's out there. But I'm still learning things from him too. I mean, our staff is primarily Spanish, the Spanish-speaking staff, and I don't speak Spanish. He's bilingual, he does. And so they gravitate to him. And so he just has this presence, of him that people gravitate to him and they ask him questions. And so he's on the right path right now.
Nice. Following up on that, do you have a moment where you're like, holy crap, that's my son, like coming in and leading? I just want to hear from the father perspective, like a moment you had that Alex might not know about, of like something he did in business. I know you talked about the selling, but is there any other kind of moment?
Like the holy crap, he did something bad or good?
No, good. Let's give Alex some shine here.
No, I mean, sales is a big thing, but I mean, honestly, for his age, it's just the leadership part. And it's for all the young people that are in here, it's how you present yourself. And, it's not necessarily just the way that you dress, but, again, with networking, just going up to the people and talking to them and just, if I give you any advice, it's just be yourself. Don't be somebody that you're not. I think there's, I love quoting, but, there's a quote that it says, complexity makes you seem smart, but simplicity makes you money, right? And so the simpler you can make things, it's just going to be easier.
I hope there's audio going around. There's some great quotes today. So if somebody's transcribing this, we should put those up. I lost my train of thought there. That's another great. I love you because you always have these little one-liners, and I love that you quote Tupac and rappers. As we're finishing up here, though, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a kid in the room listening, or even somebody who's like been afraid to get going? I know you've been through it all. So what's the one piece of advice to keep going?
Yeah, I want him to do it first.
Okay.
Because he is still a kid. I want to see what advice he can give everybody in here.
I would say just do it. Literally the worst I can say is no, right? With literally anything. You can ask a question, you can pitch someone, whatever it may be, the worst they can say is no. And you move on or you go back later. Yeah, just do it. Worst they can say is no.
Which is hard to hear the first time, but after a while, especially if you've done, I've done sales. Once you get over the no, sales is 90% no's.
Yes.
It's like my sons play baseball. Baseball, I was trying to teach them at 10 years old that it's a game of failures, which is a really tough lesson to learn as a child. But that's awesome. How about you, Edwin?
Yeah, I've failed so many times, and I had people say, you went to the university, you got a degree, why aren't you following, hospitality, working in the hotels, why are you cleaning? And so, it's not that it was a passion of mine, but I just saw that that's what I wanted to do. It was fun, and so I wanted to do something that was fun, and that's what you guys should be doing. It's something that you really enjoy doing, right? And, I've been told so many times too, when it came to the consulting side of things, you can't do that, you're not a consultant. And guess what? I just took the no and made it a yes. And then I created software. I'm not a software developer whatsoever. It took me forever to figure out what SaaS meant, right? The easiest thing. But now I know it. And I don't know how to code, but I was told, don't do this. Don't do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to be successful. And I did it. And people buy my product, and they're happy with my product. So, yeah, like Alex said, like Dave said, don't worry about the no's. Just turn those no's into yeses.
And as we're sitting here talking about the no's to yeses, what's is there something on your mind that you're thinking you shouldn't do right now, but you're like, maybe this is the time for iPro? Do you have another iteration of iPro, or has there been something where you've seen something out in the field and you're like, okay, I need to get into that, or it just makes sense naturally?
Not really. I think the big thing right now is, we're pushing 10 plus states, and, we have multiple subcontractors. That was another thing, part of my grand scheme of things is, on the consulting side, is I work with commercial cleaning business owners in almost every single state. And so they partnered with me, they trust me, so now I can grow the business nationwide. I may not be in Miami, Florida, but I have a student that's there, that's hungry, that wants business, and I can get that business and help them grow. And so we've been talking about it, really expanding. My wife will tell you no. She's like, just stop, I want to travel, but that's what we're looking at right now, is really expanding that, and then eventually I'll be handing it off to him when he's ready.
And then as we get there, so I guess as a young person, you're got to put in the work, and you got to put in the work. As you're building, and now you've been in it for this long, how do you balance your work-life schedule, and how important is that to like burnout and things like that? How do you balance all that and keep that going?
Yeah, that's the hard part. I think we see all the Instagram and TikTok videos, and the husbands or the wives on vacation and they're on their phones still working. I still do that. I mean, I just can't shut it off. That's just how my brain works. But I do try to make time. I don't share a lot of personal stuff, but a year and a half ago, my wife, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So did his mom. And so we had to take a step back. I did. I put him in charge. Sorry, get emotional about it. She did ring the bell, so she's cancer-free now. But I had to learn to step away. She's been telling me that for years, and so stepped away, and we traveled the world. And so I was able to just, again, when I talk about the leadership part of it, I was training my leaders to be me, even better than me. And so, literally, we went to all our bucket list places, and I was gone, basically, a whole year, pretty much. And these guys held down the fort. And so, as you start to grow, it's just making sure that you take care of your people. If you guys follow me on social media, if you don't, please do. I'm about culture, and in my industry, I'm known as a culture guy. And so I make sure that I take care of my employees, because you have to have the good employees if you're going to continue to grow your company. But you have to invest in them.
You mentioned, I think it was when we did a podcast together, you tried employee appreciation things because you thought you had to do it, but then you ended up asking or figuring out, what was that process? Because you ended up doing something else that was different than what you thought you had to do, but the employers are way happier now because you listened and did it this way.
Yeah, I think everywhere you worked, at least where I had it, was always, there's always an employee of the month kind of thing. And so I thought, oh, this is a good idea, let's do that. We'll give them, a plaque, whatever, congratulations, employee of the month. Well, every employee of the month that we had, they ended up quitting. Couldn't figure it out. And so finally, one of them who quit, I said, I need to talk to you first. I need to figure this out. You're employee of the month, like you're a rock star, you're a superstar, why are you quitting? And so she told me that it put a target on her back. We put her on a pedestal, and it was singling her out, like she was better than all the other employees. And so the other employees resented her. And she just felt that friction, and she just wanted to leave. And so I said, don't leave, we're scrapping this. I went back into the lab and I said, what can we do? Well, maybe we can celebrate birthdays. But there's some religions out there that don't celebrate birthdays, so then I don't want to alienate them. So I said, what can we do? And so we focus on employee anniversaries, because you can't take that away. If somebody puts in their hard work for a year, 5 years, 10 years, that's what we want to make sure that we promote and we take care of them that way. And so it spiraled into this whole thing where everybody comes to celebrate whose ever anniversary it is. And so it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, so there it is. I don't want to get slapped by Jenny here for going over time. But I think the big key takeaway there is put in the work. You can't do this fast. You can't take shortcuts. You have to put in the work. Edwin, Alex, thank you. That was amazing. You guys are sticking around, so if people have questions for you, come up and ask your questions. Thank you.